welcome. We have spoken about the importance of individual courage and commitment to live according to one's conscience, using the knowledge that we acquire during life. This quality is broadly defined as integrity, whereby the various facets of ourselves are brought into unity or wholeness of being. This video is entitled Einigkeit und Recht und Freiheit. Many people recognize those as German words, though fewer will know that they form the first line of the German national anthem. However, the words and thrust of that anthem have meaning for us in our struggle to overthrow oppression. Einigkeit means oneness or unity, Recht is right or justice, and Freiheit is freedom. The anthem extols these three things as the foundation of happiness and urges the people to all strive together in a brotherhood of hearts and hands to bring about the blossoming into happiness of the German nation. A worthy goal for any people, most would agree. We've been discussing justice and freedom for some time now, and it's time to consider how we can increase a sense of unity in the community, or if not in the whole community at first, at least amongst ourselves, the freedom fighters. Events of the past 2.5 years have shown how destructive to a community is the spirit of division or contention. We often hear words like cabal or conspiracy, and it is clear from the concerted actions of alleged governments around the world and the monotonous nature of media narratives that these organizations are working in harmony to push their agendas towards their goals. On the other hand, can also be heard the lament, we all know that these things aren't helping us, and that there's so much wrong with the way things are being run, but what can I do? We've been showing what one person can do, but how much more effective would each freedom fighter be were they to combine with a growing number of equally committed others? Our opponents are truly organized like an army, with myriads of infantry, characterized by those wearing the uniforms of constables we expect to keep the peace, but who instead inspire the sort of cringing that is the currency of the local standover gang. Or perhaps the livery of traffic wardens or council rangers, whose main purpose is to milk law-abiding people of money for the heinous crime of losing the bet that they could return to their vehicles before their allotted time expired. Ironically, even in cities or countries where gambling is outlawed, the state remains eager to coerce people into this form of wager. This ballast is overseen by a privileged officer class in positions of power and influence, often referred to as public service mandarins in honor of the bureaucracies developed in ancient Chinese dynasties. But above and beyond all those are the hidden, faceless ones who control the finances and, in concert with cheaply bought politicians, initiate the movements of genuine armies across continents, revealing in their wake the scum rings left by receding tides of blood. Yet despite the seemingly overpowering aura of dominance these phalanxes of authoritarians seek to generate, when we look beneath the surface, we see the flaws and weaknesses within. These plotters realize that there are far too few of them to establish their intended global rule by force. Their only hope is to be able to pay enough enforcers and simultaneously gull the masses by deception into granting their consent to slavery. Why don't they just opt for the naked violence which their money and armaments would seem to guarantee them success? It's because at heart they are bullies and knaves. They fear undermanned conflict with committed people determined to fight for their own and their families' freedoms. They fear the moment when enough of their soldiery see the writing on the wall and join in their overthrow. Most people are not sufficiently greedy to sear their consciences to shut out the cries of anguish or pain from innocent victims of their own premeditated crimes. Thus we observe the phenomenon that there are few on either side who are prepared to die on the hill of their own choosing, while the overwhelming majority, again on either side, shy away from open conflict. One side seeks to gain control by deception. The other seeks to avoid outright slavery by piecemeal submission to injustice, trying to blot out the silent shame of the hope that total submission won't come during their lifetime, but that the next generation or the one after that will somehow find a solution or deal with the problem. The oppressors, meanwhile, being better organised, enjoy lives of relative comfort, since their lifestyles are funded by those who refuse or fail to stand against corruption. The sad truth for those who refuse to draw a line is that their final resting place is unlikely to be a hill, but rather a ditch, those lowly channels into which are washed the detritus of a civilization. Everyone on either side is free to choose which of these cohorts they wish to join, but there is no escape from the judgment of their own consciences about that choice. Deep within the core of every person, the score is being kept of every defeat and every triumph over the moral conflicts that we face every day. That is why, upon reflection, most people, if honest in their self-appraisal, experience either a sense that they become more morally lax or corrupt as they age, or a sense that they are striving to uphold those principles which they accepted as worthy, and feelings of encouragement that they have overcome previous faults, for example, an addiction of some kind, or a pattern of behaviour which, if seen in others, would warrant criticism. There is no standing still in life, just as there is no fence upon which to sit when we are asked, are you upholding the law, the true law, not mere legislation, or assisting in its downfall? Is it any wonder when we see the levels of substance abuse among those enforcers who know in the core of their being that they are willing to inflict unjustified pain and suffering on other innocent people on the justification that it's to benefit their own families?
If you've had enough of much as us, why are you still enforcing the boys? You have to.
Right, we get paid to do this, mate. I'm just as over this fucking protest as you are. By protest, I mean lockdown.
Fair enough,
Unfortunately,
fair enough.
I've got to do what I've got to do. And
Don't do it
I'm
for
not
paycheck.
skilled to do anything else, mate. So unfortunately, at this time of my life, that's what I have to
and
do.
the people that aren't skilled, we don't get paid. We're not getting food at the moment.
I hear you, mate. At the end of the day, I agree with you.
Then why are you standing on this side and not with us?
Because that's what I get paid to do. To talk to you the way I'm talking to you, as opposed
Exactly,
to...
because it's not you're doing.
That's fine. And I'm still asking you to go home, please.
Yeah, get your paycheck so you and your wife can eat. We won't, but you can eat.
Is it surprising that someone who is willing to do that finds it difficult to live with their conscience and resorts to excessive drinking, drug taking, or some other forms of vice to provide a temporary illusion of pleasure or satisfaction in a life that they are blighting by their own errant choices? Of course, the police officer dispensing a traffic infringement ticket attempts to justify it by saying that they're all about safety on the roads, but they know that it's virtually all about revenue raising, and most of their victims have done and would most likely never do any harm by the offences for which they're being booked. The picture I've painted of the seemingly insurmountable strength of our oppressors has been deliberately bleak. There's no point in deluding ourselves. Let's leave that to our opponents. Those who have taken the oath to the Constitution have accepted the true scenario, that everything we've been told about government and the law is a carefully constructed deception. It's designed to keep most people in a state analogous to that of dairy cattle, where they are caged, not inhumanely enough to cause violent uprising, but with sufficient comfort that they will accept daily milking as price for the illusion of freedom. The past few years, however, have seen these strictures ramped up to the point where not only are the fabric of families and communities being severely damaged, but the very lives of millions are under threat. The condition of these people is more akin to that of beef cattle, being fattened up for slaughter and consumption. Clearly, those orchestrating the matrix in which we live feel emboldened to move with more open violence towards their goals. Sadly, too many are willing to go along with these impositions, if not impacted personally. But for an increasing number, that realization has come too late, and we now have many thousands of excellent people languishing in arbitrarily imposed unemployment, struggling to put roofs over theirs or their families' heads, or trying to deal with several other problems caused by the imposition of new rules. So how do we develop more Einigkeit or unity in dealing with this behemoth? We've already spoken of support letters and physical meetings with fellow A61ers. That is not always easy if oath takers are thin on the ground in our locale, but we have the option of Zoom, Skype or other VoIP apps to enable contact and encouragement, and this is particularly important when new people enter our groups or circles. This is one of the most significant steps most people will ever take in terms of what it means in changes of attitudes. And there are frequent moments when a fresh realization of the implications of what we're learning causes us to metaphorically run our fingers through our hair as we ponder new insights. That we can each reach out to someone who is perhaps a bit further along the path is vitally important, and the more this is done, the faster will grow the numbers and effectiveness of those standing with us. We urge all involved to do their best to locate at least a small number of like-minded people. VoIP meetings can be recorded and copies sent to those in the group who are unable to attend, and there are numerous testimonies as to how helpful people have found this. Other invaluable options are such things as Telegram channels, where we can locate valuable files, videos and advice, or even IT help from each other. In Australia, we are fortunate to have the channel MC1215 Network Chat AU, administered by Fitzroy Sterling, which has numerous links to other helpful sources. There is my own channel on Telegram, Locked On Article 61, which consists solely of this series of videos, and the already mentioned chat shows or lessons on Magna Carta and associated issues featuring Carl Liebold and Fitzroy. Check them out on Soundbite University on Facebook and Voice of Freedom or Nun2K on YouTube. For those in the UK and Ireland or other Commonwealth countries, all are welcome to those facilities. Plus, of course, the wealth of information and expertise available from the Practical Lawful Dissent 2 website on Facebook and Brand YouTube, administered by Frank Cadman, which we in Australia often access as well. Anyone joining the movement to restore true law is urged to develop their skills as rapidly as possible, and this process is accelerated synergistically when we combine with others. Many of us have more talents than we give ourselves credit for, and every attempt to improve them has a multiplying rather than a simple addition effect. One last thing I would urge is to foster a spirit of support and cooperation between different groups. The formation of these is inevitable since no one owns the knowledge or process, so there will be differences in the way those at the focal points of these groups approach things. These differences should not be the source of dispute or criticism, but peaceful encouragement. How remarks are phrased can have a vast difference in results. Instead of such statements as, "That's wrong, you shouldn't be doing that," we could try something like, "How's that working for you?" Or, "We've found that doing so-and-so has been very effective for our group. You might find it beneficial to try that." Our aim should always be to foster goodwill and support for each other. Our enemies enjoy a laugh when they see those opposing them arguing amongst themselves. Isn't our goal to instill this sort of panic and dissension into their ranks? We already have justice and freedom in our quivers. Let's try to fletch those arrows with renewed efforts at unity, that our bolts may fly more truly to their targets. Thank you for watching.